Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Gavin Fish and this is my channel. I appreciate all of those of you who are coming back over and over again who have subscribed to the channel. And if you are new here, you like what I do, after you've watched a little bit, please consider subscribing to the channel. That's a good way to support my efforts. Now, today we're going to dig into a case that ever since I found out about it has really bothered me. And this is the case of the murder of Ellen Greenberg. Now, notice that I say murder because I believe it is a murder, but as we get into the case, you're going to find out that a lot of people consider, well, one person considers her death a suicide, and that person really matters. And so as we hop into this, I'm going to show you why I believe it's murder. Now, if you go over to my website, which is gavinfish.com, and click on cases, you'll find a link to the Ellen Greenberg case file page, and you will find that I've put together a whole bunch of documents and photos. I mean, look at all these documents, and all of these came to me thanks to people who are supporting me on Patreon. I got these documents thanks to a basically Freedom of Information request, and was able to get a lot of them. Some of them have been in the public in the past, a total of about 47 pages that I could find. But now we have 1,991 pages of investigative files, of autopsy and crime scene stuff. We have there's a lawsuit going on that her parents have filed, and that's how we've been able to get a lot of these. So head over, I'll put a link in the description, head on over to the Ellen Greenberg case page over on my website so that you can take a look at these documents, and I'm going to get into them in this video. I think the first thing that I should do is probably start out with a background on this case just for a few minutes, even though there are lots of other videos out there from Dr. Oz and so forth. But if you don't know about this case, I need to tell you a little bit about it. Okay. Ellen Greenberg was a 27-year-old school teacher. She taught first grade at Juniata Academy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was engaged to be married to her fiancé. They had been together about 3 years, and they lived together at the Venice Lofts apartment. This is a picture from the street of the Venice Lofts apartment building. They lived on the 6th floor, and you can see that there are technically balconies, but they are very small, right? And to get up to the 6th floor balcony would definitely be a challenge. So they lived at the Venice Lofts apartment, and Ellen, on January 26, 2011, school was called off because of snow. And so she left early and fueled up on her way home, and she went home. That's pretty much what we know about that day. Now, where things kind of get weird here are starting, well, actually, let me back up. Ellen, just to tell you a little bit about Ellen, she was going through a little bit of a mental health crisis. Now, I only bring this up because it's important to the case later. I really admire people who have mental health crises and recognize them, and they seek professional help. And I really admire and appreciate those professionals who offer that help. And in this case, Ellen was feeling a bit of anxiety, and she had gone to see a psychiatrist. She had done 3 appointments with her psychiatrist, and she had an appointment for the 4th, the day after she died on January 26, 2011. Now, Ellen had been prescribed a couple of things. Her doctor had prescribed Zoloft and then later switched to Xanax, which both of those are anti-anxiety, anti-panic disorder kinds of drugs. And when those didn't seem to be helping her, her psychiatrist prescribed her Ambien and Klonopin. All of these are benzodiazepines, but the Ambien and Klonopin, they are designed to help her sleep. So her psychiatrist wanted her to get good rest to deal with this anxiety. Now, her parents are named Joshua and Sandra Greenberg. She had talked to her parents about this, and her mom and dad had told her, you should seek help, which she did, which I'm awfully proud of her as a 46-year-old man that kind of feels toward her like I do a lot of my victims, like a parent, right? It's like I have this parental feeling toward Ellen and other victims that I look into their cases. Anyway, I'm very proud of her for talking to her parents and for seeking that professional help. Okay, let's go back. On January 26, 2011, what we know is that at 4:45, her fiancé, a guy named Sam Goldberg, left the apartment that they shared and went to a gym which was located on site at the Venice Lofts apartments. He left at 4:45. Okay. At 5:15, he states, or between 5:15 and 5:30, he states that he was done working out. He goes up to the apartment building or to the apartment and he can't get in. He states that his keys are inside and that it's locked from the inside. His statement then goes on to say that he texted her, he called her, he emailed her, he called through the door for about an hour trying to get into the apartment. He then states that he went down to the security guard who he asked if he could help him get into the apartment building. The security guard said, no, we can't really do that. But Sam's statement goes on to say that he and the security guard went up the elevator to the 6th floor, and then with the security guard, he broke down the door. That is his story. Okay. Now, continuing his story, as he goes inside the apartment, he sees Ellen on the floor, in a pool of her own blood. And let me show you the one of the very few crime scene photos that we have here. Let's see. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Okay, so this is one of the only crime scene photos that really have leaked out. And Ellen was described as being leaned up against this corner between the sink, which is up here, and the stove, which is over here. I can kind of show you a floor plan here. This floor plan is available from the website of the Venice Lofts apartment, but it is a mirror image of their actual apartment. So she was leaned up against this corner right here, and between the stove and the sink, and he calls 911 according to his statement, and 911 tells him to start CPR. He says at that point he noticed that there was a knife sticking out of her chest. Okay, so this is his story. 911 dispatches police and medical personnel. They pronounce her dead at about 6:40 p.m. that night. That doesn't necessarily mean that she died at 6:40. That just means that that's when they determine the cause of death. So, okay, the next thing that happens is Ellen's body is taken to the medical examiner's office in the city of Philadelphia, and the following day, before I get into that, I want to show you that. I'll just continue. Okay, so that day, on the 27th, an autopsy is performed by a Dr. Marlon Osborne, and he finds that Ellen has been stabbed 20 times, exactly 20. 2 times in the back of the head, 2 times in the back of the neck, and 10 times in the chest and torso. Now, if you don't like this kind of thing, I suggest maybe you stop the video right now, but I want to go over and show you a couple of, they're not autopsy photos. What happened is her parents had a company called BioMX create computer models of of her and what happened to her. So, but they're based on the autopsy photos. So this does show Ellen's face, it does show her body, and it shows kind of the violence that she had to go through before she died. So just fair warning on this, okay? So I'm going back over the website, and I'm just going to show you, I think maybe the best photo to show you is this one right here, okay? So she had a large gash in the top of her head, a puncture wound, and then 8 puncture wounds to the back of her head and neck right here, and then 10 puncture wounds to her chest, including one that was 10 centimeters deep inside her chest. And I think this probably is a good representation, so you can see how deeply that knife was embedded in her chest. Okay, so that is what Dr. Osborne finds, and Dr. Osborne then does a preliminary autopsy report. Let me find it here real quick, and then I'm going to show you. So he does this preliminary autopsy report. He finds multiple stab wounds to the chest and abdomen, back of neck, incised wound on her scalp, found that wounds are associated injuries to the aortic arch, the upper lobe of the left lung, liver, and the cervical spinal cord between C2 and C3. If we go back over to the website, actually there's another one that's down here in her cervical spine. Let me see if I can find that one real quick. There we go. Right there. Okay. So then, he goes on to describe it, including the knife, a 12.5 centimeter blade is present in the chest wound at a depth of 10 centimeters. And he calls the cause of death multiple stab wounds, and the manner of death is homicide. This is his preliminary report. Okay. Now, something happened between January 27th and March 18th when Dr. Osborne's official final report came out. And this is what happened. He had a meeting with personnel from the Philadelphia Police Department, from the district attorney's office, and with his boss, the chief medical examiner. After that meeting, he changed the cause of death to suicide. Now, in these documents, let me come over to my screen here. In these documents, I've pulled out about 6 pages of a deposition that was done with Dr. Osborne. And the questioner here is a man named Joe Pedraza, and he is the attorney for Ellen's parents, because they have filed a lawsuit trying to compel the medical examiner's office to change her cause of death from suicide to homicide. I'll get into that, more deeply, but let me just read some of this deposition. Okay, the question for Mr. Pedraza. Let me go down here. Let's see. Let's go to, okay. Now, Dr. Gulino had talked about a meeting with the police and a representative from the district attorney's office. Do you recall such a meeting after you had determined the manner of death to be homicide? Answer from Dr. Osborne. Yes, it occurred after that. That meeting occurred after the cause was made pending and there was more information that was gathered. So what he's saying is, I initially said it was homicide, then I changed it to pending, and then I had this meeting with members of the police and the district attorney's office and my boss, the chief medical examiner. Okay, so question, Mr. Pedraza, but did that meeting occur before you consulted Dr. Rourke? Now, Dr. Rourke is somebody that we'll get into a little bit later. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Okay, were there other meetings with the police and DA other than that one? And Dr. Osborne says, I only recall one meeting with the police and DA after I gathered information and they presented the information they gathered to the best of my knowledge. Question, and at that meeting you had with the police and the district attorney, what was the information that you gathered that was new, that was not present at the time that you determined homicide as the manner of death? He said the information that was gathered was that we had the information. The Dr. Rourke's evaluation had been done. The toxicology, I believe, had been reported at the time. So he's kind of stumbling over his words, but he had another pathologist look at some tissues, and then toxicology had come back. He said, additionally, I had already had the chance to review the psychiatry records that we requested that I wasn't able to review before the autopsy was performed, and I go through the crime scene investigation that was completed by Mr. Olszewski, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, and reviewed the scene photographs completely. And I believe that's the majority. That's all the things that I brought to the meeting, is what he said. Okay, Mr. Pedraza asks him, okay, and we'll get into more detail with your interaction with Dr. Rourke in a second here. At the meeting, what did the police or representatives from the district attorney's office present? Dr. Osborne says, to my knowledge, they discussed their interactions with the decedent's boyfriend and the statement he gave. They also stated that they were going to be evaluating the knife. And I'm not sure that the dating evidence was available at that time because I can't place exactly when that happened in the sequence of events. I knew that in their investigation at that point that they were going to be testing the knife for DNA. By the way, just so you guys know, we don't have any of the DNA reports or fingerprint reports or anything like that in these files. I'm hopeful that we can get them sometime in the future. Okay, and we went through the entire scene again to discuss what factors would contribute, what factors are associated with or lead to homicide versus what lead to suicide. You guys remember, let me show you a picture from the website. Obviously, this didn't happen. This was one knife that did all of these, not multiple knives. But these are all the injuries that Ellen received. And he's talking about this with the police, right? He's already said, I think it's homicide, but they changed it to suicide. So let's see. All right. Question for Mr. Pedraza, and again, we'll get into a little bit more detail as we proceed here in the examination. After that meeting with the police department and the DA, yes, I'm sorry, I reminded, can you tell me who were the participants at the meeting with the police department and the district attorney's office? He doesn't really remember, but from other documentation, there were 2 police officers, there was an assistant DA, and there was Dr. Gulino, his boss, and himself. Okay, so skipping down, prior to that meeting with respect to Ellen Greenberg case, had you had any similar meetings with police and or DA representatives to discuss the changing of the manner of death from homicide to suicide? His answer was, I spoke to the investigating officers when they requested it be changed. So he just said the investigating officers asked the medical examiner's office to change the cause of death from homicide to suicide. We can't skip over that, right? They requested the change be made to pending first. Sorry, I misspoke that. While they continue their investigation, I don't know the officer's name though. Okay. My question was a little bit more general. In your time with the medical examiner's office in Philadelphia, up to January 27th of 2011, had you had a similar meeting with representatives from the police department and the district attorney's office to discuss changing the manner of death from homicide to suicide? His answer, any case or just this case? Any case. And Dr. Osborne says, no, I have not had a meeting to discuss changing. So basically what Dr. Osborne is saying is that he has never, up in his career up until that point, been asked by the police to change a manner and cause of death. But he indeed did change the manner and cause of death from homicide, right here, to suicide. Let's see, where are we? Yeah, suicide, right here. Now, what bothers me, guys, about this case is looking at pictures like this and asking myself, does a person commit suicide by stabbing themselves multiple times in the back of the head and the back of the neck, and then multiple times in the chest and torso before they deliver the fatal blow? Do they do that? Well, according to Dr. Osborne, she did. She, according to him, committed suicide. Okay, so let me go into a couple of other things that I have found, okay? Let's see. This is, by the way, this is the Toxicology Report. The Toxicology Report found benzodiazepines. These were the drugs that Ellen had been prescribed. Now, okay, so the next thing that happens in this case that I think is important that we need to take a look at is Ellen's parents, through their lawyer, engage a company called BioMX Consulting. And BioMX Consulting is the company that put together all of these computer models of Ellen, okay? And they did that in order to try to determine, was it physiologically possible for her to deliver those blows to the back of her head and neck and chest? Was it biomechanically possible? So let's take a look at the letter that was submitted by BioMX Consulting, shall we? Okay, so this was earlier this year. And I'm just going to kind of skip through. And, they put in some background about Miss Greenberg and some of the things that they'd gotten. And then these are the things that they had received from the lawyers: autopsy report and photographs, scene photographs, crime scene investigation reports, and then reconstructed 3D computer modeling results. And then photogrammetric and mathematical dynamic modeling results, and the medical reports provided by Wayne K. Ross. By the way, you can go to the website and you can see that report, okay? So this is what they said. The posterior head and neck stab wounds sustained by Ms. Greenberg are not biomechanically consistent with self-infliction. Right? So the subject posterior head and neck stab wounds is consistent with focalized stabbing by an assailant. Self-infliction of the multiple posterior-oriented head and neck angulated wounds would require multiple intentional dynamic motions of the proximal and distal radioulnar joints, which is not biomechanically probable by Miss Greenberg. And they go on and they tell more and more the probabilities and the impossibilities. Their conclusion is Miss Greenberg's manner of death is not biomechanically consistent with suicide. So I guess the next place in my mind that I would go with this, I'm glad that they got this report, but when I look at these computer models and even just the photographs, well, they're computer models, but they're made by these computer photographs, by autopsy photographs of all these stab wounds right here in Ms. Greenberg, and all of this to the back of the head. In my mind, I just don't think that it's possible that she could have killed herself. I think it's obvious that she couldn't kill herself. So why would the medical examiner's office say suicide? And going through the depositions, we find that basically it comes down to what they knew as far as the crime scene. That, according to Mr. Goldberg, the fiancé, he was unable to get in, and it was locked from the inside by a door latch. Let me show you guys this door latch. Let me find it for you real quick. All right, bring it up for you. So this door latch right here, was broken, is what they said, right? So, and let me get up here. So if we kind of come in here and take a look, yes, there are screws pulled out of it. There's no damage to the door jamb whatsoever, but it is damaged, I guess, is kind of their point. And his story was that he had to break in. They also, because the crime scene analysis took a look and there were no footprints in the snow on the balcony. There was no evidence that anybody had come up to their 6th floor apartment building. Remember, this is what it looks like to get up to the top. So the police are saying there's no way anybody could have gotten up there. It was snowy. There was snow. There would have been footprints. There would have been evidence on the outside there. And the door latch is broken. So I guess it makes sense that Mr. Goldberg had to break in. And so there's no other reasonable determination other than she killed herself because there was nobody else in the apartment. Okay. And remember, it was Mr. Goldberg who told investigators that he had to break in and a security guard was with him, right? However, when we go to the documents, there is a declaration from the security guard. I have redacted his information. What he says is, in January 2011, I was employed as a front desk clerk providing security at the Venice Lofts Apartments. I worked the afternoon and evening shift on January 26th and was on duty when Ellen Greenberg was found dead on the 6th floor. I was the only desk clerk security person working on the premises during the afternoon and evening. Before I learned Ms. Greenberg was dead, Samuel Goldberg, her fiancé, had come to the concierge desk where I was stationed on the 1st floor of the apartment building. Mr. Goldberg asked if I could help him get into the apartment, and I told him I could not. So everything so far that Mr. Goldberg stated has been corroborated by this person, the security guard. Okay, but then he says, I did not accompany or escort Mr. Goldberg up the elevator, stairs, or otherwise at any time on January 26, 2011. Had he been accompanied or escorted, it would have been by me. I have reviewed the videotapes taken from the facility for January 26, 2011, which record activity in the 1st floor elevator lobby and other common areas of the facility from about 3 to 7 p.m. on January 26, 2011. The video confirms that neither I nor anyone else accompanied Mr. Goldberg to his apartment at any time during the full length of the videotape. If I had accompanied or escorted Mr. Goldberg to his apartment, I would have done it using the elevator and it would be captured on the video. I did not see Mr. Goldberg enter the apartment at any time on January 26, 2011. I did not witness anything Mr. Goldberg did or did not do on the 6th floor of the facility at any time. Because I was not with him, I could not observe anything Mr. Goldberg did or did not do on the 6th floor of the facility. I do not know Mr. Goldberg entered apartment 603 at any time on January 26, 2011, because I was not with him. I did not see Ms. Greenberg's body in apartment 603 at any time on January 26, 2011. If anyone says I was with or able to observe Mr. Goldberg on the 6th floor when or just prior to when he claimed to enter the apartment on January 26th, they would be wrong because I was not with him or otherwise in a position to observe him, and then he signs it and certifies it. Guys, so one of the main pieces of evidence showing that she was alone in the apartment is actually found not to be true now here in 2021. Let's see, he signed this in June of 2021. So what then happened, right? What is it that could have happened? Could this I guess, damage to the door latch in the apartment building have been done prior to Mr. Goldberg? Mr. Goldberg entering or actually even exiting the apartment at 4:45 p.m.? I think the answer is yes. And I think that means that, one, I think that Ms. Greenberg was likely killed prior to 4:45 p.m. when Mr. Goldberg said he left the apartment. And it's my belief that he went down to the gym and staged this whole thing that he was locked out of the apartment for over an hour in order to cover up a crime. That is my personal opinion. I think it's a reasonable opinion, especially in light of all of this evidence that we've been able to get from getting all of these documents. Look at this, guys. These are the kinds of wounds that Ms. Greenberg sustained to the back of her head and neck. And there are a couple of them that are deep, that go deep into the cervical spine in between the vertebra C1 and C2 that could have caused, I mean, excruciating pain. And then we are to believe that she then stabbed herself in the chest 10 more times. And then one last time, to seal the deal. I just don't think that it is reasonable to believe that Ellen Greenberg committed suicide. I think the most reasonable thing to conclude is that she is a victim of a homicide. My personal opinion, my personal belief is that Mr. Goldberg is likely the one that is responsible. Now listen, there are over 1,900 pages. It's actually very close to 2,000 pages of documents that I need to get through. So this is the first video in probably many, 5 or 6 videos that we will dig into particular parts of the case. I want to thank one more time my Patreon supporters for making it possible in part for me to get all of this documentation. Without you guys, I would not have been able to do this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys will go over to the website, gavinfish.com, and you feel like you want to sleuth with me a little bit, I have put all of the documentation and photographs that I have on that website. So you can just find these case documents, you can open them up, and you can take a close look and see if you find anything. There is so much information in here. Like I said, almost 2,000 pages. The actual page count is 1,991 pages. If you feel like you have some talent and you would like to dig into this and see if you can find little bits of evidence, please go to the website, gavinfish.com, click on cases, and then click on Ellen Greenberg. If you find something, please click on the contact page and send it over to me. You can be completely anonymous, guys. You don't need to put your name, email address, phone number. Just let me know what it is that you want to tell me, what type of message it is, and then stick your information in there. If you have any documents that you want me to see, go ahead and upload them here. Okay, with that, I am going to call this video done. We've been going for about 33 minutes, and I appreciate you sticking with me. If you have not subscribed to my channel and you liked this video, you've made it 33 minutes into this video, please consider subscribing and giving me a like on this video. Also, if you did not like this video, it's hard to imagine you being here 33 minutes later, but I would appreciate a thumbs down because that tells me the kind of content that you guys would like for me to make. So with that, I will wrap things up. I will bid you adieu, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below.